So, welcome all of you, all the lovely people who are joining us today. We are at the fourth day of our Insta Live sessions on how to manage your anxiety. Last 3 days, we have tried to understand how anxiety feels like, what are the different signs and symptoms of anxiety, and we have worked on certain techniques to manage our anxiety. So, the first day was breathing retraining or mindfulness meditation. Day 2, we focused on time management and a worry box. Day 3, we went on to discuss how to challenge your negative thinking, how to identify the kind of thinking errors we tend to make when we are anxious, and how to cultivate positive thinking and how to have positive thoughts to help you with your anxiety. Now, please remember, I was just talking to somebody today and I thought it would be worth mentioning again that these skills are like any other skill which you will need practice with. It's like learning how to drive a car or a bicycle. You can't drive in an emergency if you don't have enough practice for driving a car or a bicycle. So please practice these skills even when you are not feeling anxious, even when you are not feeling sad. Still continue to practice the skills as we have discussed, so that when you actually need them, you are well versed in them. So moving on to today's agenda, on popular demands, we have fixed today's agenda to be on panic attacks. What are panic attacks? How do they affect you? How can you prevent them from happening? And what can you do when they actually happen? Right? So let's first understand what are panic attacks. A panic attack is a very, very severe or a significant form of anxiety. It's a very intense form of anxiety that happens suddenly. It is characterized by certain symptoms. So, for example, the person having a panic attack may have shortness of breath, may have a feeling of dizziness, may feel a tightness in their chest, a racing heart, a feeling of trembling, sweating, nausea, chills running through the body, cold and clammy hands, hot flushes, a sense of losing control, of a huge fear of losing control, and a fear of dying. Apart from that, panic attack can also trigger feelings of derealization and depersonalization. That is, you feel a sense of detachment or a sense of not belonging to the world or reality. So this episode can be very intense and very frightening for the person having it. Now, usually a panic attack does not have a trigger. It can just happen out of the blue. But at times, if you really look closely and you monitor your panic attacks well, you may realize that there are certain external or internal triggers to the panic attacks. So, for example, an external trigger can be the smell of a perfume that your ex gifted you. A very non-threatening kind of a thing, but it can trigger a panic attack. An internal trigger can be a catastrophic thought. So when I'm entering the interview room and my thought is, oh my god, I am going to fail miserably, can trigger a panic attack. So anything external or internal can trigger a panic attack, and sometimes you may not even find a trigger for it. The second thing to remember is a panic attack usually peaks up in about 8 to 10 minutes. So it may start with 1 or 2 signs, keep on increasing. The peak itself stays for another 10 to 15 minutes, and then the panic attack starts going down. So it goes up, forms a peak, and then it starts going down. But a person having a panic attack, for that person, those 10 to 15 minutes are crazy. They are so intense. They leave the person completely exhausted, mentally, physically, fearful of having another attack, not wanting to face the world, it can be a very, very scary situation for a person having the panic attack. I'll play a bit of devil's advocate here. Often I hear youngsters attributing a bit increase in anxiety or some anxiety symptoms as panic attacks. Please remember, a panic attack, a classic panic attack, is a very, very significant or severe form of anxiety that does last for a small amount of time, but that anxiety can be debilitating. So a person just having, say, a shortness of breath and racing heart, that's not a panic attack. For a usual or a classic panic attack, we say that the symptoms that I have listed till now, at least 7 to 8 symptoms must be present simultaneously for it to be categorized as a panic attack. Otherwise, we say that you are primarily panicking or having a high anxiety, which also is a problem, but which is not a classic panic attack. So just a quick recall, a panic attack is a sudden episode of intense fear and anxiety, which is characterized by a feeling of dizziness, shortness of breath, chest tightness, pounding or a racing heart, chills or hot flushes, nausea, feeling of detachment from the outside world, a fear of losing control, and a strong fear of dying. I'll just break in the middle because I see somebody has written that their panic attack lasts for 5 to 6 hours. It is usually that the panic situation itself, the panicky feeling, may last for 5 to 6 hours, or it may come in peaks, go down, come back in peaks, go down again. But the actual peak that I'm talking about usually stays for 10 to 15 minutes. So this is what panic attacks are, and how do we differentiate between high anxiety and panic attacks. Now, usually, obviously there are therapeutic ways and there are self-help ways to deal with panic attacks, but please remember that if your panic attacks are getting more severe, more frequent, more intense, and they have started actually interfering with your life, that you're not being able to do certain activities, you're not able to go to certain places, then it's time to meet a psychiatrist, because otherwise you will always be preoccupied with having another attack, which itself becomes a trigger for the actual attack. So please visit a psychiatrist if the attacks are becoming too debilitating. Coming to what we can do if we have a panic attack, or if we have had 1 or 2 panic attacks prior to this. 2 ways. One obviously is prevention. We know it's an episodic thing. It happens, then it may not happen for a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 10 days, a month, even 2 months. So what can I do to prevent another panic attack from happening? That's one way of looking at it. And another way of looking at it is, what can I do when I am having the panic attack? Because sometimes, as I'm again and again saying, there may not be a trigger. I may not know when it happens. But I need a toolkit. When it actually happens, what can I do? So first, let's understand the preventive aspects. As we know that a stitch in time saves 9, right? So what do you do to prevent a panic attack? Now, one thing we know, that a person who has a tendency to get anxious, or who has an anxious predisposition, will always have a higher chance of having a panic attack than somebody who's not that much of an anxious prone person, or who doesn't tend to get stressed very easily. So picking from that, it's the same techniques that we do to stop our anxiety. So for example, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So if I know that I'm prone to anxiety, if I know that I may have a panic attack, I've had one and I may have again, there are certain very important changes I need to make in my life. I need to sleep on time and have a proper good night's sleep. I need to take care of my diet, eating proper food, not going hungry for long hours, avoiding caffeine, alcohol and drugs. They are all depressants or stimulants. They are going to make you more restless in their withdrawal or craving, which can increase your anxiety. and exercising regularly. These 4 lifestyle changes can help me in preventing another attack. Second most important thing, practice your breathing exercises. We have talked about the breathing retraining. Do a pranayam, do a meditation, do any form of relaxation that helps you. But continue practicing that. Third and the most important thing is know your triggers. As I said, you may not have a trigger, but you may have one. For example, stalking your ex on Instagram, yes, it is a trigger. So please stop doing that. Having catastrophic thoughts continuously about what can go wrong is a trigger. Work on those. We have talked yesterday about how you can deal with your negative thinking. Going to a particular place can be a trigger. Now, what we need to understand is that, can I avoid that trigger? For example, okay, I will not stalk my ex on the Instagram, I can avoid it. But if I can't avoid it, for example, if I have to go for the exam or if I have to go for the interview, I can't avoid the trigger, right? So what can I do in that situation? So be prepared. Something we have also been talking about in terms of COVID, that be prepared. There are certain things which you cannot avoid. So be prepared in the form of, now that we are going to talk about that what to do if I have a panic attack. So for example, if I know that I have to go for an interview which can precipitate a panic attack, then can I be better prepared for it beforehand, like practicing my relaxation, making sure I have slept well, making sure I have eaten something before the interview, doing some bit of positive thinking so that I don't get too anxious in the situation. So prepare yourself. So for prevention, 3 aspects: lifestyle changes, breathing exercises to be practiced on a regular basis, and third, know your triggers and be prepared to deal with them. Now, what to do when you're having a panic attack? So, like I mentioned, your panic attack usually will peak in about 8 to 10 minutes, right? Small things, if you look closely or if you try and recall the last time you had an attack, small things can indicate the starting of a panic attack. That fear coming in your mind which you can't explain, a sense of restlessness that you can't control, a jittery kind of a feeling, shortness of breath, so you're taking kind of a shortness of breath happening, or a racing heart. These are some of the signs and symptoms that a panic attack is going to escalate sooner or later. So we know, and especially I guess any of you actually who've had a panic attack would know this better than probably me also, that you need to stop it before it peaks, before it escalates. So the first step becomes then understanding those starting signs and symptoms of a panic attack about to begin and immediately acting on them so that they don't peak up. Now, how do I act on them? As I said, one of the first thing that helps in a panic attack is changing the way you breathe. A shortness of breath, what happens is it sends less oxygen to your brain. It makes your heart beat faster because more blood needs to be produced, because it's a fight or a flight response. There is an apparent threat in your brain. So the brain is doing everything to make you prepared for that. So the shortness of breath is basically also to send more oxygen and more energy to your peripheries. What you need to do is start by controlling your breathing. Now, certain techniques immediately can help. One is putting your hand between your belly button and under the rib and then breathing, where you can feel your stomach rising and going in with the breath, and you focus on the breath. Another simple way of breathing can be the one we talked about on Monday, that you can breathe in to a count of 4, hold to a count of 2, and then exhale exhale to a count of 6. So by breathing deeply, you're giving the brain a signal by sending more oxygen to the brain nerves that the danger has passed away and I can calm down. The heartbeat stops going faster, it calms down, your body starts relaxing. Another way for people who are interested in yoga, and which something which personally helps me a lot, is the jap or the mantra of Om. So just putting your, just take off your glasses, put your thumb inside your ear, cover your eyes and say This basically what it does is, the vibrations it sends inside and the focus you have to do on the sound again calms you down. So this is a kind of some of the breathing exercises that you can practice when you are having the panic attack. I see somebody has asked a very important question, that whether we should exhale from the mouth or the nose. When you are practicing the 4-2-6 breathing exercise, where 4 you are inhaling, 2 you are holding and 6 you are exhaling, do the inhaling with the mouth and from the nose and exhaling from the mouth. Great. So the second thing that you can do is, the breathing exercise help. The second technique which would help is distracting yourself. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, but some of the simple ways of distracting yourself is counting backwards from 100, subtracting 3. So 100, 97, 94, 91, that complex maths, I mean it's not very complex, but the very act of doing something which requires your attention takes your focus away from the anxiety, takes a focus away from the bodily symptoms, and which again calm you down. Or if there is somebody in your friends or family with whom you feel comfortable, you can just ask them to be there with you when you are having an attack. Sit with them, hold your hand, or just calm you down, or just be there with you so that you feel comfortable. The third technique which can help is, apart from the breathing, is something called progressive relaxation. Although the whole progressive relaxation takes a lot of time to do, but simple things like tightening all your body, because your body becomes anyway very rigid during the attacks, tightening it completely, the whole body, taking a breath, tightening it, and then loosen it while saying the word relax in your mind. So tighten the entire body and then loosen it gradually. Do this about 5 times, you will start feeling better. The fourth technique that has been found to be very helpful in panic attacks is something called grounding. Grounding you can remember by the principle of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now grounding is a technique because we have talked about that panic attack causes a sense of detachment or a sense of depersonalization or derealization. So grounding can actually help you getting back to the reality and again taking away your focus from your panic attack. So sit down or stand, whichever is comfortable to you, but your feet should be firmly on the ground. So preferably not lie down. Even if you're lying down, put your feet on the ground. That is the most important thing. Now start with a couple of deep breaths. Then look at 5 things that you can see. So acknowledge 5 things that you can see. It can be the clock. For example, right now I can see the clock, the lights, the phone, a water bottle, the fan, the TV, the music system, so on and so forth. So 5 things that I can see. I start acknowledging them. 4 things that I can touch. It can be my face, it can be my hands, it can be the sofa, it can be a piece of paper, it can be my wallet, it can be the chair on which I am sitting or the bed on which I am lying down. 3 things that I can hear. It can just be the hum of the AC, it can be the fan, it can be people talking at a distance, it can be the birds chirping, it can be the mix sound of a mixie or the food being churned in the mixie. So 3 things that I can hear, 5 things that I can see, 4 things that I can touch, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things that I can smell. It can be my favorite perfume, which I can keep with me. It can be a flower if I'm outside in the garden. It can be the smell of the fresh air. It can be the smell of the ground when water is being poured on it. Any smell that makes you feel comfortable, or you can light a incense or a candle, scented candle. And one thing that you can taste. So it can be a chewing gum, it can be a cup of coffee, it can be a cold drink, it can be a cold water, it can be a cold drink, anything that you can taste. So grounding is basically to get you back to the reality where you acknowledge 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can touch. Use these techniques. Another thing which can sometimes help during a panic attack is changing the body temperature. So some people have told us that simple things like rubbing an ice on their face or rubbing an ice putting an ice pack on their back or on their palm of the hand actually helps them in calming down. So let's recount what we have talked about till now. Prevention would be the best thing if we can do that. For prevention of panic attacks, you need to take care of your overall anxiety. So lifestyle changes, knowing your triggers, and practicing your breathing or the meditation exercises on a regular basis will ensure or will at least make the panic attacks much further apart so that they are manageable. Second part, in case you have a panic attack, the first thing to do is breathing in another way that you've been breathing during the panic attack. So no shortness of breath. You have to practice deep breathing. Either a 4 inhale, 2 stop, 6 exhale, a practice of a pranayam or a om, or just putting your hand and then breathing in, breathing out, and feeling that sense of calmness coming in. Progressive relaxation, where you tighten your entire body, take a deep breath, and then release, saying the word relax. Change your body temperature. Maybe ice can help, maybe something warm can help. Whatever works for you, you will need to figure that out. Distract yourself, talking to a friend, having a family member near you, or counting backward from 100 to 100, subtracting 3. And lastly, grounding technique, following the principle of 5 things that you can see, 4 that you can touch, 3 that you can hear, 2 that you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. Now please remember that you will not be able to think of these things when you are actually having the attack. So it's like that first aid toolkit you have to have in the house. You can't go searching for Burnol once your hand has been burned. It has to be there in the house. So similarly, this is like a toolkit which you'll need to prepare for yourself, that in case a panic attack happens, these are the things that I can do to make myself feel better. And then keep improvising, keep adding if required. And although I'll hope that you can prevent another panic attack from happening and you won't need to use these skills. So this is from my side. Let's have some question and answers. I see one question, relaxation combined with or without breathing. See, relaxation exercises can be of quite a few types. Like one is called a Jacobson progressive muscular relaxation, in which the focus is not so much on the breathing but more on tightening and relaxing of each and every body muscle. And then there are breathing exercises which range from pranayams to simple deep breathing to mindfulness focus on the breathing. So whatever relaxes you, whatever makes you feel calmer is something you can do for the relaxation exercises. Another question somebody has asked is what to do when people judge you for your conditions and invalidate how you're feeling. When people judge you for your condition, so use that first thing that we have discussed yesterday. Are they really judging you, or are you mind reading? So what is the evidence for this fact that they are judging you, or what is the evidence they are not judging you and it's your own insecurities? Suppose your answer is that I have all the evidence that people are judging me. Then you need to ask yourself, what can I do about it? Are those the people whom I really care about? If I do, then obviously I'll need to handle it accordingly. Or are these the people whom I don't care about? So if I don't care about them, why am I bothering about what they are thinking about me? हिंदी में कहावत है, जब हाथी चलता है तो कुत्ते भौंकते हैं, right? So if they are judging you and they don't matter, then you don't need to bother. But if they do matter, then you need to understand why are they judging you. Is it something that you need to change in yourself, or you need to tell them that you're not comfortable with them judging you? Another question I see is, hi, I want to ask if I can try to cure depression myself. Recent studies have shown that mild symptoms of depression, like having only 4 or 5 symptoms of sadness of mood, or lack of interest in pleasurable activities, tired and fatigability, some bit of low self-esteem, lot of physical symptoms. So mild symptoms can be taken care of by yourself by making certain lifestyle changes. But if the symptoms are moderate to severe, or going to a level where your sleep and appetite has started getting disturbed, then you will need help from a mental health care professional. I see another question. Hi, I'm having continuous panic attacks this weekend. What can I do? As I have said, please try the techniques that we have discussed about the breathing exercises, and see if by eating something. I'll tell you a technique that I tell a lot of my clients for their high anxiety, and which they say helps. Eating some bit of dark chocolate has been found to be helpful by a lot of my clients. It calms down their anxiety, but it has to be a dark chocolate, so something like a 60% cocoa at least. It immediately, because it gives you a dopamine rush, it does calm you down. So you can try that. You can try the breathing exercises that I have discussed. Even then, if things do not help you, then I would actually suggest you to meet a mental health professional. Do we have any more questions? Somebody has asked the yesterday's live sessions. Yes, you can access them on the Vaisa Instagram account, and we are also saving the videos, so I am hoping that we would be uploading them soon on the Vaisa platform, so you can access those videos at your own time. Great, so if we have no more questions, so I'll close down for today. Just a whole summary of one question: how to cure mental breakdowns at night? Same techniques day or night. If it's happening specifically at night, there is some trigger which is happening. You will need to identify that and work on it. Another person has asked me, please advise some sedative tea for relaxation. I am so sorry, I do not have any suggestions on that for any sedative tea. People say green tea helps, so you can have a normal green tea and see if that works for you. So, coming back to the closure part, we have talked about today about what panic attacks are, how can you differentiate between a panic attack and an acute anxiety or a heightened sense of anxiety. Prevent the panic attacks from happening because that's the safest bet. But if you cannot and the panic attacks do continue to happen, then please use the techniques that we have discussed in terms of relaxation exercises, breathing, grounding, changing the body temperature, and distraction, and see if those help you. In case your panic attacks are getting too severe or too frequent or causing too much of disruption, then I would suggest you meet a mental health professional for help. I'll be talking about social anxiety. That's another thing a lot of people have been asking about. So, what happens in a social anxiety and how to deal with the same. And don't forget to download the Visa app for more free toolkits on how to manage your anxieties.